The alien world of Zoroth was home to many strange things. But one of the strangest was happening today, inside a large classroom at the University of Galactic Biology. Bright lights filled the room. Strange shapes of creatures from different planets sat together, their eyes focused on the front. At the center stood Professor Talls, an old alien with smooth blue skin and two long antennae. He looked proud as he spoke. Today, he said, we have a special guest, a human. Please, welcome Daniel. The class grew silent as Daniel walked forward. He was the only human there. He looked calm, wearing simple clothes, carried no strange weapons or tools, just a small smile. Many students leaned forward. They had studied human history. Humans were brave, emotional, and sometimes dangerous. The students had learned about human wars and human kindness. But today they would learn something new. In the front row sat Kira, a young alien student with shining red scales and green eyes. Her heart was beating fast. She'd always found humans interesting, but strange. There were so many things about them that didn't make sense. Professor Talls turned to Daniel and asked, "Please explain your mating season, human. When do human males become fertile?" Daniel smiled politely. He looked at the whole class and said in a friendly voice, "Well, human males are fertile all the time." For a moment there was silence. Then a loud gasp filled the room. All the time? Kira whispered to herself in shock. She looked at her friends. Their mouths were open. One student from a cold desert world raised a shaking hand. "Do you mean they don't have a season at all?" Daniel nodded calmly. "That's right. No season. We are always fertile." Another student shouted from the back, "Impossible. That can't be. Think even the great predators of Kresser Prime only have one season every 10 years. But Daniel just smiled kindly again. "That's how humans are. It is part of our biology." Kira felt her mind spinning. No season? Always fertile? How could that be? On Zoroth, most species had a mating season. Some lasted weeks, some months, and others only a few days. 8. During those times, their behavior changed completely. They became wild, emotional, unpredictable. But humans. If what Daniel said was true, Kira leaned forward, curious and confused. If human males were fertile all the time, did that mean they were always emotional, always bold? Was this the secret behind human courage? Professor Talls cleared his throat and continued the lesson, asking questions about human families, love, and reproduction. But Kira could not concentrate anymore. Her eyes stayed fixed on Daniel. He looked so calm, so peaceful. But how could a species stay peaceful when they were fertile every day, every month, every year? It made no sense to her. When the lesson ended, students began talking excitedly. Some laughed, others shook their heads. Kira stayed seated for a moment, lost in thought. This simple fact about humans felt huge. Maybe this explained why humans were so different from all other species in the galaxy. Her friend Rollin, a tall creature with 6 arms, leaned over and said, "Come on, Kira, stop staring at the human. Let's go to the food hall." But Kira shook her head. "No, I want to talk to him." Rollin gave her a look of warning. "Be careful. Humans are strange. My uncle met one once, said they are dangerous because they have no control. No season means no limit." Kira didn't listen. The mystery pulled at her mind too strongly. She stood up slowly and watched Daniel as he packed his things. Smiling and saying goodbye to Professor Talls, Kira took a deep breath and walked toward him. Her heart was racing. What was it about? This human? Why couldn't she look away? And why did the idea of always fertile seem more than just biology? Why did it seem like the key to understanding the entire human species? The lesson had only just begun. But Kira knew her own personal lesson about humans was far from over. After the lesson, Kira could not stop thinking about what Daniel had said. The idea of a species that stayed fertile every day, every month, every year, it was shocking. On Zoroth, that kind of biology would cause chaos. She sat in the university garden, watching Daniel from a distance. He was sitting under a tall, glowing tree, eating something from a small human box. His calm behavior confused her even more. He didn't act like a male in mating season. He didn't seem aggressive, distracted, or emotional. Her friends noticed her staring. "Kira," Roland said, sitting beside her, "you are wasting time. The human is dangerous. He has no season. You know what that means, right? No limits." Kira shook her head slowly. "I don't believe that. Look at him. He's peaceful. He's not wild or out of control." "I need to know why." Roland frowned. "You sound like you're obsessed." But Kira ignored the warning. She stood up and decided to follow Daniel. Quietly keeping her distance, Daniel didn't seem to notice her as he walked through the university halls, greeting other aliens politely. Kira noticed something strange. Daniel was friendly but distant, kept his emotions controlled. It made no sense. If humans were fertile all the time, then shouldn't they behave wildly like other species during mating season? Kira wanted answers. Finally, she gathered her courage and stepped closer. "Excuse me, Daniel," she called softly. He turned and smiled warmly. "Hello, Kira, right? From the front row." His voice was calm, kind, and relaxed. No aggression, no strange behavior. Kira felt her scales warm slightly. "Yes," she said. "I have questions about what you said, about human fertility." Daniel laughed gently, but not in a cruel way. "You're not the first to ask. Would you like to talk over tea?" "I'm heading back to my quarters." Kira hesitated. 1,000 warnings filled her mind, her teacher's lectures, her friends' fears. But curiosity was stronger. She nodded. "Yes, I would like that." They walked together through the university grounds. Some students stared, others whispered. Kira felt their eyes on her, but she didn't care. Soon, they reached the human quarters. The building was smaller, made of simple stone and glass. When she entered, a soft warmth touched her skin. The air smelled different, earthy and comforting. Human art hung on the walls, strange symbols and pictures of oceans and forests. Daniel poured 2 cups of tea and handed one to Kira. The cup felt warm in her hands. "You have many questions," Daniel said gently. Kira took a sip of tea, feeling nervous but determined. "Why are humans fertile all the time? How can your species stay calm?" "On Zorith, males during mating season become completely different. But you seem peaceful." Daniel smiled. Again, this time more thoughtfully. "That's because humans don't have a season. We live with that part of ourselves every day, all year, from youth to old age. We learn to control it." Kira frowned. "But isn't that hard?" Daniel nodded. "Sometimes. But it is also why humans are the way we are, emotional, brave, and always ready to take risks. It is part of our nature." Kira felt her heart beat faster again, but this time not from fear. From wonder. Humans lived with their instincts every day, but learned to manage them. Maybe that was why they were bold explorers, fearless warriors, and kind friends. She looked around Daniel's home, noticing how peaceful it felt. Plants from Earth grew in small pots. Warm lights glowed gently. It felt different from any alien home she had visited, and Daniel himself. He was different too. Not dangerous, not out of control, but calm, thoughtful, full of quiet strength. Kira realized that she didn't just want answers anymore. She wanted to understand humans deeply. This was only the beginning. The next day, Kira could not focus in class. The other students talked about normal things, upcoming exams, space sports, and boring lectures. But Kira's mind stayed on one thing: Daniel, the human male, who was always fertile, and yet so calm. Her friends whispered behind her back. "She spends time with the human now," one student said. "She's curious." "Too curious," another added, but Kira didn't care. Her curiosity was stronger than their gossip. After class, she found herself walking toward the human quarters again. Her heart raced, but she couldn't stop. She needed more answers before. She reached the door. It opened. Daniel stood there, smiling gently. Kira, he said warmly, I was hoping you'd visit again. Kira froze for a moment. Then she said quickly, Can I ask you more questions? Please, Daniel nodded. Of course, actually. I'm about to prepare food. Would you like to join me for dinner? Kira hesitated. Dinner. With a human, it felt bold, maybe even dangerous. Made her nod. Yes, I would. Inside, Daniel's home felt even warmer this time. He cooked using strange human tools and ingredients Kira couldn't name. The smells filled the air, rich and unfamiliar. She watched as he worked calmly, humming a soft human tune. There was no sign of the wild energy she expected from a fertile male. Kira finally asked, Why are you always so calm? Daniel turned to her, smiling again. Kira, it's not that we humans don't have strong feelings. We do, but we live with them every day. We learn patience because we have no season to wait for. We live in balance with our instincts. Kira sat quietly, trying to understand. On Zorith, males lost all control during their season. They could not think straight, but humans lived every day in this balance. When the meal was ready, Daniel set the food in front of her. Kira tasted it carefully, the flavors surprised. Her rich, strong, but comforting, Daniel watched her with kind eyes. I know this must seem strange to you, he said softly. Kira looked at him and felt herself smile. It is strange, but fascinating. They ate, Daniel asked her. About Zorath customs? Kira explained the mating season traditions, the wild dances, the strange foods, and the isolation period afterward. Daniel listened carefully, never interrupting, showing respect. He asked gentle questions. He made her feel important, like her. Words mattered. No alien male had ever done that. Hours passed quickly. Kira forgot about the time. She laughed at Daniel's jokes. She enjoyed his stories about human life and Earth. By the end of the evening, Kira realized something important. The mystery of human fertility was not just about biology. It was about how humans lived their lives, embracing emotions every day without limits, but with kindness and care. When it was time to leave, Daniel walked her to the door. Before she left, he said something that made her heart race. You can visit any time, Kira, he said gently. I enjoy our talks. You are different from the others. Kira felt her scales warm. Thank you, Daniel. I think I will. Visit again. As she walked back to her quarters, the stars above Zorith felt brighter. She knew she had stepped into something deeper than just science. Her journey into the human mystery had only just begun. Asterisk after her dinner with Daniel. Kira could not sleep. She stared at the soft lights in her room, her mind spinning with thoughts. Humans were different. Not just in biology, but in behavior. She had never met a male who could be so calm, so gentle, and yet always fertile. Her teachers had taught that fertility made males act wild and emotional, but Daniel was the opposite. She needed more answers. The next day, Kira rushed to the university's grand library, a huge building filled with data crystals from across the galaxy. She sat at a glowing screen and searched. Human fertility. Cycles. But what she found made her even more confused. Some records simply said continuous fertility. Others described human males as emotionally unpredictable, but did not explain why they remained peaceful. A few old studies even warned that humans were dangerous because they hid their true emotions. It felt like the records were incomplete. As if no one truly understood humans, Kira sighed and leaned back. Why is this such a mystery? She whispered. Her friend Raylon appeared behind her. You're still studying them? He asked, shaking his head. Kira, listen to me. Humans are dangerous exactly because of this. You can't trust a species with no season, no limits. But Kira frowned. Daniel's different. He is peaceful. Rowland crossed his arms. That's just what they want you to think. It's part of their power. Kira's heart ached with doubt. What if her friend was right? Was Daniel controlling her mind somehow? Was his endless fertility making her feel this strange attraction? Her thoughts grew darker. Later that day, as she walked alone through the campus gardens, she saw Daniel again. He was sitting quietly under the same glowing tree, reading a small human book. Kira hid behind a tree. Watching him, he looked calm, peaceful, just like before. But was it real, or was he hiding something? Kira felt confused and frustrated. She wanted to believe Daniel's kindness. But the warnings from her friends and the strange library records made her question everything. Then she noticed something that made her heart skip. Other alien students were watching too, whispering, laughing quietly as they pointed at her. The rumors had begun. Kira is spending time with the human, they said. She's being controlled. They laughed. Their words hurt more than she expected. Kira lowered her head and walked quickly back to her room. She sat on her bed, staring at the wall, feeling lost. She thought about Daniel's smile, his warm home, his patient answers. Were those just tricks? Or was there a truth she couldn't see yet? That night, Kira made a decision. She would not listen to rumors. She would not trust old records written by aliens who barely understood humans. She would find the truth. Herself, not as a student, not as a researcher, but as someone who needed to understand. Now, what it really meant to live with emotions every day? Like a human, she promised herself tomorrow. She would test Daniel. If he was hiding something, she would discover it. If he was honest, she would finally understand the real mystery of human nature. By the next morning, Kira's name was everywhere. In the food hall, students whispered as she passed. In the garden, they stared. Even some teachers looked at her with quiet curiosity. She spends time with the human, they said. She's falling under his control. Others whispered. Kira felt their eyes on her everywhere she went. The rumors spread like wildfire, and the story changed each time she heard it. Humans are dangerous, one student warned. Their constant fertility is why their minds work differently. Kira won't be able to think clearly anymore. Another said, humans don't need a mating season because they manipulate with words instead of biology. Even her oldest friend Raylon avoided her now. When she tried to speak to him, he shook his head and walked away. Kira felt isolated, but deep inside, her curiosity remained stronger than the shame. Was everyone wrong about humans? Or were they right? She needed proof. That evening, she prepared. A small device, a biological scanner from the university lab. It could read body signals, hormone levels, temperature, even emotional spikes. If Daniel truly was influencing her mind because of his strange biology, the scanner would show it. Her plan was simple. She would visit Daniel again, ask her questions, and secretly scan him. When she arrived at Daniel's quarters, he greeted her as warmly as before. "Hello again, Kira," he said, smiling. "You're becoming a regular visitor. I hope that means you're learning something useful about humans." His kind voice made her doubt herself again. Was this all an act? Did humans really have some hidden power to control alien minds? Kira smiled politely and entered his home. The warm light and comforting smells calmed her nerves, but she stayed, focused on her mission, as they sat together and shared tea. Kira slipped the small scanner from her satchel and hid it beneath her cloak. The device glowed softly, unseen. "Daniel," she began carefully, "do you ever feel different around aliens? You think human fertility gives you any advantage?" Daniel laughed gently. "You know, Kira, that's a question no one has asked me like this before." He leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. "Humans are different, yes, but not because of constant fertility. We are different because we feel emotions deeply, joy, sorrow, curiosity, anger, all the time. No season is needed for that." The answer sounded honest. Too honest? The scanner beeped softly. Kira peeked at the readings. Normal? His hormones were steady. His emotional signals calm. No signs of manipulation, no strange spikes. Nothing like the wild energy that Zeroth males showed during mating season. Kira's hands trembled slightly as she turned off the scanner. Could it really be this simple? Could all the warnings, fears, and rumors be wrong? Before she could speak, Daniel leaned forward gently. Kira, can I ask you something? She looked up at him, surprised. Why do you keep visiting me? He asked softly. Is it just curiosity? Or something more? Kira froze. Her heart beat faster. She felt warmth rising through her scales, a warmth that no scanner could measure. This wasn't just curiosity anymore. This was something else, something human, but she couldn't answer yet. Not now. Not when she had only just begun to understand Daniel. Didn't press her. He simply smiled and offered her more tea. That night, as Kira left his quarters and walked through the quiet university halls, she felt the stares of other students again, but this time she didn't care. She had her proof. Daniel was no danger. He was just human, and humans were different because they chose to be. The next day, Kira felt strangely light. She had her proof. Daniel's biology was normal. No secret hormones, no strange signals, no hidden control, and yet she still couldn't explain why she felt drawn to him as she walked through the university garden. She passed small groups of students whispering about her. Their words didn't sting anymore, but they still made her wonder. Why were they so afraid of humans? Why did her own people see human emotions as dangerous? Kira wanted more answers, not from books, not from rumors, from Daniel himself. That afternoon, she sent him a message. Hey, Daniel, can I visit again? I have one final question. His reply came quickly. Of course, Kira. My door is always open. When she arrived, Daniel welcomed her warmly, just as before. His kindness felt real. She had to be sure. Daniel, Kira said, sitting across from him, I have been thinking deeply about your kind, about how humans can be fertile all the time, and yet so calm. I tested your biology last night. Daniel raised an eyebrow, curious but not angry. Tested me how? I brought a scanner, she admitted, her voice soft but honest. I thought maybe your body was affecting my mind. But the results were normal. Daniel smiled gently. I see. You're a careful researcher, Kira. Kira hesitated, then asked the question that had haunted her since that first lesson. Then why? Why are humans so emotional? Why do you seem calm when you hold so much inside? How do you live like this? Daniel set down his cup of tea and looked at her quietly for a moment. Then he spoke. Kira, we don't hide emotions. We live with them. From childhood, humans learn to feel everything, happiness, sadness, fear, love, every day. We don't wait for a season. We let ourselves feel it all, even when it hurts. Kira listened closely, leaning forward. She had never heard anyone explain emotions this way. Daniel continued. It's difficult sometimes. But that's why we value connection, kindness, and trust. If we did not control ourselves, we would destroy everything. So instead, we learn to love more, even when we are afraid, even when it's hard. His words sank deep into Kira's mind. This was the answer she hadn't found in any book or data file. The truth was simple, but powerful. Humans had no mating season, because they didn't need one. They lived their whole lives open to emotion, and their strength was learning to balance it. Kira sat quietly for a long time, thinking about what he said. Then Daniel asked gently, Did you find what you were looking for, Kira? She looked up and met his eyes. Yes, I think I did. But I also think this is only the beginning. Daniel smiled again. Good then, keep asking questions. That's how we understand each other. For the first time since that strange lesson in the university hall, Kira felt peace. She understood now. Humans were not dangerous because of their biology. They were strong because of their hearts. That was their secret. The next morning, the university lecture hall was full. Students whispered as Kira walked inside. Some still laughed at the rumors. Some watched her with suspicion. Others waited to see what she would say next. Today, Kira was scheduled to give a presentation, her research about human fertility, but what she had learned was far more than biology. Professor Tals nodded to her gently. Kira, you may begin. She stood at the front, her scales glowing softly under the lights, her heart steady but strong. I have been studying humans, she said clearly, especially the fact that human males are fertile all the time, with no mating season. A few students chuckled. Others leaned forward, curious. Kira continued. First I thought this was dangerous. I thought this meant humans could not control themselves. But I was wrong. The hall grew quiet. She looked around at all the students, different species, from across the galaxy, and then said, "Humans do not wait for a special season to feel emotions. They live with feelings every day. Joy, sorrow, anger, kindness, love. Their biology forces them to feel. But they have learned to live in balance with their emotions." Students exchanged glances, confused. "But here's the most important thing I learned," Kira added, her voice strong. "Humans do not hide or suppress their emotions. They embrace them. They build connections and trust because they must. That is their true strength, not biology, but heart." For a moment, no one spoke. Even Professor Talls looked thoughtful. In the back of the room, Daniel sat quietly, smiling. Kira felt his gaze. Calm and kind, she realized then that her journey wasn't really about fertility at all. It was about understanding what made humans human, their ability to feel deeply at all times, their courage to live with emotions, instead of hiding from them, their strength and connection and care. As she ended her presentation, Kira felt proud. She had found the truth, not just through science, but through experience. After class, many students approached her with questions, their curiosity stronger than their fear. And as she walked out of the hall, Daniel was waiting for her near the door. He gave a small nod. "You found your answers." Kira smiled warmly. "Yes, and now I have more questions." Daniel laughed softly. "Good. That's what makes humans and aliens alike. The search for understanding never ends." Kira felt a sense of peace and excitement together. The mystery of human nature was no longer strange or scary. It was beautiful. She knew she would keep learning, keep asking questions, and she would not care what others thought. This was only the beginning of her real discovery.